What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Amazing Bacon Games. If you've been following the first two videos in this series, we've covered a lot of really good horror games that are coming up in 2020, and this week's episode is no different. Now, we've got a game that's really just kind of wishful thinking on our part for 2020, but then some good psychological stuff and the follow-up to probably the greatest storytelling endeavor of all time in video games. If you're interested to find out what I'm talking about, make sure you come back right after the intro when we discuss horror games to expect in 2020, Part 3. First up on today's list, I'm going to go ahead and get that wishful thinking that we were talking about out of the way. For those of you guys that have heard of a game called Devotion, it's a game by Taiwanese developer Red Candle Games. The reason I say that some of you guys may be familiar with it is it was originally on Steam in February of 2019. It was called 2019's Best Horror Game. GameSpot's Richard Wakeling said, "The sorrowful story Devotion tells meshes malice with tenderness, metaphors with stark truths, and achieves it all with the nuanced kind of environmental storytelling that other games can only strive for. Devotion is a shining example of what the horror genre is capable of." For those of you guys who haven't heard of Devotion, I know what you're thinking. Why is this game on this list if it was released in 2019? Here's the thing. There was some controversy surrounding the Chinese government with this game, and it was pulled after a week, and it hasn't really been seen or heard from since. There's a lot of wishful thinking and hopeful people that think that maybe this game is going to come back out in 2020, and the developers have talked about maybe releasing it once, as they say, people can understand what the game was trying to accomplish. Now, to get back into the game, this game is about screenwriter Feng Yu, his wife, and his daughter, set in the 1980s. It deals with Feng Yu's fall into madness as he struggles to support his family and to come with terms with the societal shifts that in the 80s was happening in Taiwan, where women were gaining more power and it was less of the nuclear family. This touches on a lot of historical issues that they faced back in the 1980s, and it really melds it well into this story. In addition to that, his daughter has a lot of mysterious mental illness going on, so this is a game that really truly touches on a lot of deep-seated issues, whether it's societal shifts, mental illness, the struggles of masculinity in an evolving society, and there's even some occult play that goes on that I'm not going to spoil it for you other than just to tell you this game touches on just about everything you could ever want out of a horror game. So if you're like me and you're just hoping and praying that they're able to re-release this game in 2020 as they've hinted at, then make sure that you check out Devotion by Red Candle Games. Coming in at number 2 on today's list, we have Kingdom of Night. This game is going to be available on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. It should be out in October of 2020. This game is brought to you by Black 7 Studios and Danjin Entertainment. It's an 80s style action RPG, single player, and it utilizes skill trees in a traditional RPG sense. Where it is set a little bit different than most of the RPGs that you see is it's set in the suburbs of Arizona, so it's not deep fantasy or medieval times or anything like what you tend to think when you think of RPGs. You do get to choose from different classes. There's 9 to choose from. That's going to determine your play style and how you go through this. But to get to the meat and potatoes and the story of this game, your job is to save your community of Watford, Arizona from a satanic cult. What they've done is they've risen the evil of Baphomet. Your job is to defeat 5 demon generals on an interconnected map in a story-driven quest system. Now, with this story, you can explore and defeat these generals in any order that you want. It's completely open-ended and allows you to choose how you want to approach this game. The developers have said, Kingdom of Night contains multiple instances of extreme gore and violence, as well as dark and nightmarish imagery. I know what you're thinking. You're looking at the visuals of this game in front of you and you're like, how can this be gory and dark and nightmarish? That's the thing about Kingdom of Night. It's not afraid to tackle these visuals in a cartoonish sense that's still going to leave you unsettled and maybe a little bit creeped out. If you like throwbacks to old games, but also are a fan of modern storytelling and twists, make sure you check out Kingdom of Night when it hits in October of 2020. Halfway down today's list, we have Remothered Broken Porcelain, available on the Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Brought to you by Stormont Games, Daryl Arts, and Modus Games, this game is a part of the Remothered series. They are touting new characters, storytelling, deeper immersion, and gameplay than what we got in the first Remothered game. Now, Games Machine has called this the successor to the best horror game of 2018. There's a lot of expectations when it comes to this game, and it's set in the Ashman Inn and all the secrets that are hidden within its walls. The good thing is it doesn't matter if you played the original Remothered game or not. This game was designed with new and returning fans in mind, meaning it's got a new story, but it's within that same universe that we talked about, so it has that same aura, the same environment, and the same overall feel that we got from the first one. For those of you guys that didn't play the first one, it focuses a lot on stealth, investigation, escaping, and you really have to search your environment for tools to help you survive what you come across. Now, the main difference between this one and the first Remothered game is it introduces real-time cinematics for the first time in the series. So it's going to give you a whole lot of new immersive feeling and depth that you didn't get from the first one. The developers have said that it involves a young woman escaping oppressors in confined environments. The horror elements are psychological in nature. Enemies will chase the player as they run, hide, and try to oust them with the environmental resources and weapons. This is going to cover a lot of sensitive subjects, and depending on what bothers you and what doesn't bother you, it may be a game that kind of gets to you a little bit more than other people. So just bear that in mind whenever you play Broken Porcelain. If that sounds fun to you, or if it sounds like a game you would at least like to check out, make sure you check that out this year when it comes out, and make sure that you check out the second in the Remothered series, Broken Porcelain. Here we are at number 4 on this list, and we have the Dark Pictures Anthology, Little Hope. Now, there was a teaser in the original Dark Pictures Anthology game that was titled Man of Medan. This is part 2 of a planned 8 games, so this is the second installment and an indirect sequel to Man of Medan. Supermassive Games and Bandai Namco Entertainment are allowing you to play as one of 5 characters, but you get to switch between them throughout the story. We don't know a whole lot about the story other than just that little teaser that they've put out, plus the Easter egg that was in the first Dark Pictures Anthology. There is a gameplay element involving a moral compass, and the game is really heavy on quick time events. I know that's going to turn a lot of people off, so if you're not really into a game with a ton of quick time events, this may not be the game for you. But if you're into games like Heavy Rain or any of the other games by Quantum, this may be a game that you want to dive into, because you do get a chance to play as those characters, switch between them throughout the story, and determine how your story goes. In the first game, they had an option called Movie Night Mode, where up to 5 people could choose characters to control during the different points in the game. That may be something that they plan on carrying over, and with the success of the first one can only assume that they will. It added a different kind of dichotomy to how you played the game, because each different person in the party may decide to play it a different way. It really helped the story, it drove it forward, and if you are into really story-driven, quick-time event games that really draw you into a story and an atmosphere of inescapability horror, Dark Pictures Anthology Little Hope on PS4, Xbox One, and PC may be the game for you in 2020. Alright guys, if I could cut away from the video for just a second, we're getting ready to get into The Last of Us Part 2, so if you're excited about that game, and you've been kind of wanting to relive the original game, The Last of Us, I'm going to leave a link below to a guy who's doing playthroughs of the original Last of Us game. He's played it before, so he has a good idea of what he's doing, walking us through the story, and it's going to help us kind of work our way through the story. His commentary is great, he's a good guy, I've talked to him personally, and I'm a big fan of his. His name's Big Hype. Like I said, I'm going to leave that link down in the description. Make sure that you check him out. And now we're going to get back on with this list. For the final game on today's list, I saved quite possibly the best for last. This is The Last of Us Part 2 by Naughty Dog, and it's a PS4 exclusive that was originally set for February, but now it's been delayed until May 29th of 2020. This is a follow-up to arguably the best story game of all time, and a lot of you guys would agree with me. If you disagree, please, by all means, let me know what game you think was better down in the comments, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. But personally, I don't know that I've ever experienced a better story in gaming than The Last of Us Part 1. Naughty Dog has set out a lot of games, whether it was the Uncharted series, whether it was the original, any of their other PS4 exclusives, and so they know what they're doing. The good thing about The Last of Us Part 2 is we do get some returning characters. We get to visit with Ellie and with Joel, and we get to see where their relationship has grown over the past 5 years in this post-apocalyptic world. The problem is, for those of you guys that played the beginning, you know how it ended. I'm not going to spoil it for those of you guys that didn't, but you do have to deal with the complications that arose from that. So there's one aspect you got to think about. It introduces new characters and new aspects to the game where you have to deal with Ellie pretty much growing up before your eyes. Co-writer Haley Gross has said that, driven by love, while we love Ellie and we're really excited to see her grow up, we're certainly not going to coddle her. And this is evident 100%. As you see in the trailer that's playing right now, she's forming new relationships, but she's also feeling new loss. And so the biggest part of this game is questioning, how far would a good person go to avenge a loss? As Ellie goes through and she tries to avenge and seek vengeance on the loss and the murder of her friend, you have to make decisions and realize, how bad of a person are you willing to be to get back at even worse people? So this game, as the story was written in the first one and as we've learned in this one, it forces you to feel regret and question your decisions. Naughty Dog has done that better than probably any other game in history with the emotions that it draws out during this game. Me personally, I'm excited about this game. I have been ever since I finished the first one and was hoping and praying that there would be a second one. Now that there is, on May 29th, we're going to finally be able to play The Last of Us Part 2. That's all I've got for you guys for today. I'm going to keep my final message that I usually do here short, sweet, and to the point, because sometimes you don't have to be heavily winded in order to accomplish what you want to say. So here it is. You're important. You have purpose, and you have a reason for being here. You wouldn't be here if there wasn't a reason for it. Make sure that you count your blessings every day, and you never ever let yourself get caught up in the drawbacks where you forget to see the good going on in your life. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And if you guys liked what you saw, make sure you come back every single Monday. I've got a video coming out about video games that you guys are going to love to see. My quality is getting better every single time I put one of these out. Please, if you disagree or you have any suggestions, make sure you let me know down below. Otherwise, click subscribe, click that little bell, follow along. You're going to see a whole lot of other cool games coming up, as well as new highlights on the Isles of Adelar series that I originally started. And until next time, I'm the Amazing Bacon. I'll talk to you guys later.